Time for the final edition of the Boselli Breakdown for the 2023 season. JP Shadrick with Pro Football Hall of Fame left tackle Tony Boselli. And, oh, my gosh, Tony, a disappointing ending, to the season in Week 18, but a disappointing ending to the year overall. The last month and a half, the Jags were 8-3. They dropped 5 of the last 6, and now they're watching the playoffs on TV, and I can't even believe it.
It's shocking, JP. I mean, the way this thing kind of got away from us, I didn't see it happening. I especially with finishing the season, Tampa, Carolina, and then the Titans. I'm like, okay, even though we had a rough spot, you know what? Those are 3 games. We're better than those teams. We should win. Boy, I was wrong. I don't know what to say. I'm shocked. They didn't play well. And things that plagued them all year showed up in the biggest moments when they needed to make a play, when they needed to get a win to get in the playoffs. Turnovers, they had 2. Not being able to execute on short yardage situations or short goal line situations. Had a chance to tie it up at the end of the game. Couldn't get in. 3rd and 1 from the 1, 4th and 1 from the 1. Couldn't get in. Got pushed around. We're out physicaled. Titans rushed for over 200 yards. These are things we talked about, and they found ways to win. But we talked about it as things that they needed to clean up, they needed to get better, and they didn't, and that's why they're at home right now. It's unfortunate. It's very disappointing.
Tony, Trevor Lawrence is now through 3 NFL seasons. Where does he stand? How do they regroup around him to elevate his play moving ahead?
Well, it starts with him. He needs to get better. I mean, he's a good player, and I am in the camp of a big believer still in Trevor Lawrence. But he did not take the jump I thought he would from year 2 to year 3 under Doug Peterson. And so he needs to have a really good offseason. First and foremost, he needs to rest. He is beat up.
Absolutely.
Which goes to my second point. You got to protect him. You got to do a better job up front. I think you got to rebuild the interior of that offensive line. That's my opinion. I think you have 2 tackles. I think you bring Cam back. You got Anton Harrison, who had a nice rookie campaign. But the interior of that offensive line has to be better. And I'm not sure, you can bet again because they made the bet last year that they were just going to run it back with the same guys and they were going to be better. Well, they ended up with the exact same record, 9-8, basically just barely over 500. But this year, they didn't have an epic collapse by the Titans where they could get in. The Colts and the Houston Texans played better than anyone thought. So now it's going to be a competitive division next year. You got C.J. Stroud. You got the Colts under Shane Steichen. Good football team. Stroud at Houston. So with DeMeco Ryans. So you got to find a way to get better. And I think you got to, I think first let's take a step back, let everyone catch their breath, coaches, everyone else, players. But then you got to take a hard look in the mirror and say, okay, where do we have to get better? And you have big decisions. You have Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. He deserves a big contract the way he played this year. What are you going to do with Calvin Ridley? Are you going to give up a second rounder to sign him to a long-term deal? Can you? You got a lot of big decisions to make. It's going to be a very interesting offseason.
There's no doubt about that. Tony, defensively, where did this thing just kind of go wrong? They felt like early part of the year they were stopping the run and taking the ball away. But then at key moments late in the year, they weren't stopping the run and they weren't taking the ball away. So what gives?
It's always difficult or dangerous to count on turnovers to get you off the field. You got to be able to get people off the field yourself. And if you get turnovers, that's a bonus. And they had a plethora of turnovers early and when they were winning. And so those dried up and they couldn't get off and then they started getting pushed around. And they couldn't stop the run and couldn't get off the field and gave up a bunch of points down the stretch outside of Carolina, who couldn't score against you and I if we were playing defense. So what shocks me though, JP, because the defense surprised me early and was who I thought they'd be down the stretch. It's the offense that just was not explosive and wasn't high powered, and I missed that. And shame on me because I believe in building that offensive line. It starts up front, and I overlooked that too much because I just thought they'd be I thought they'd be better at the skill position, and I bet that Trevor was going to take a huge step and become a top 5 quarterback in this league, and he's not right now.
More questions than answers as we head into the off season, but hopefully the answers lie ahead. Tony, another great season, at least on this program in the UK, and thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, but it ended too early. We
did.
should be doing it again next week, and I'm disappointed we're not. But to all our UK fans, see you next year.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like this, please subscribe and take a look at all the other videos on our YouTube channel.